Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's CHILLPOREAL. I am Brian, the host, the Nerdporeal life form himself, and to this week's guest needs no introduction. But for the first time on the channel, I'd like to introduce the host of the Night Owl himself, Price of Reason. Thanks for joining me. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me here. It's always nice to hang out.
So, Price. So, I met you through a mutual acquaintance, my buddy Kyle, aka Dread Roberts. So I'm curious how you guys met first place. So how did this connection start?
It's an interesting story. What happened is that I think this was about a year ago. I'm thinking a year, maybe a little more over a year, something like a year ago. There was this movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. And I went to see the movie, and when I saw the movie, I couldn't tell if the character
is that the one with the April? Is that the one with the April O'Neil who is?
Yes, that's
okay,
the one with the very interesting take on April O'Neil. But what happened in the movie was there was a creature called Scumbag that initially, as far as I knew, based on what was in the cartoons and back in the day, he was supposed to be a male.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout this movie, by the end of it, him and Splinter seem to be kissing, and now they're like lovers. So I just thought to myself, that's weird. Why is Splinter in a relationship? First of all, forget about the fact that, people's preferences and stuff like that, and that Splinter, historically, I mean, there was nothing to suggest that he was that type of character. You know what I mean? Like an LG type of character. Like there was nothing to suggest that. So that would have been a weird thing. The other thing, even forget about the preferences and things like that. The fact that he would be in a relationship with a bug and that they're like making out in the movie is really weird. So when I walked out, I just, this is so funny because I asked my friend Tom Connors at the time, and I said, hey, you know a lot about Ninja Turtles. And we both saw early screenings. We both got like tickets for advanced screenings.
Yeah.
So I said, did you notice this thing? Is this a dude or is this a woman? So he said, you know what? I think that they implied that this bug that he was making out with was a woman, even though Tom agreed with me that the whole him making out with the bugs was weird.
So
that seemed out of place.
So this
is
very,
very strange to begin with. So long story short, when it ended up happening, I did a review, and also I went online and I started researching. Now, they had for each character a poster online. And for the character of Scumbag, they wrote as himself. So basically, they were confirming in the marketing and poster for the movie that this creature was a male. So I said in my video that I was really surprised that Splinter said that that he was with a male in a relationship and it was a bug. And I just said that the whole thing is very weird. And I was talking about it in my video. I think maybe it was John F. Trent, who now writes for That Park Place. Hey, Dread Roberts, what's up? So basically, John F. Trent, who writes for That Park Place now, he saw my video, and then he wrote an article, echoing what I said about, he said, why is the poster say it's a male, and why is Splinter making out with a male bug? It's really weird. Why is he making out with a bug to begin with, but why is the bug male? So then after that, other people started picking up on the article. And at the end, it was some weird thing that by the end of the day, you had like, I don't even like the, like, I mean, it's nothing personal. I don't know the guy, but I don't have anything special positive about him either. But I'm saying like Andrew Tate and friends were like sharing the article, the John F. Trent article. Everybody was like talking about this Splinter and this bug and all this stuff. So at this point, Paramount Pictures did like a statement, and they said that all this talk about what we're saying about Splinter is all wrong, and that basically this was a mistake in the poster. They never meant for him to be a male. It was always supposed to be a female. And what people were telling me is sometime in the movie, there's a part where Splinter says something her about the bug, so using kind of a pronoun to describe the bug as a her. Now, when I saw the movie, I guess I didn't notice the pronoun, or maybe I saw in advance. I saw it like a week before everybody. Maybe that version didn't have the pronoun. I just don't know. So what happened was is like the studio came out and started saying no, like we never intended for this to be a male. Somebody made a mistake and did a poster that said it was a male.
Wow.
So,
And so how did that connect you with George
okay,
Roberts?
so Dread Roberts, amidst all of this nonsense, read the article, and then he made a video, and he was talking about all this crap that was happening to me with this stupid thing with the bug. You've never seen such crazy stuff happening with a bug. I mean, there was
So
like
this
an
is
article.
different. This is different type of bug than Baxter Stockman, because Baxter Stockman was a
No, it was a
dude, and then
different one
then
than
he got
Baxter.
transferred. He gets transformed into a fly, and boss in every
No, it wasn't
game.
Baxter Stockman. It wasn't one of those.
But same type of situation where a human morphs into a bug because of technology from Dimension X or something.
You know what? I'm not even sure what the scumbag. Maybe all the scumbag thing also touched the ooze, like the green ooze. Who knows?
Okay,
Uh,
all right.
in any case, the creature never speaks in the movie. It just makes these noises, and he's the lover of Splinter. And they said that it's a misunderstanding. It was always supposed to be a woman, and they want to officially say that they want people to go see the movie and be relaxed. Like Splinter is like is not he's straight, and the bug is a female, not a male.
Oh my
But
gosh.
and just so you know that, like, while all of this was happening, there was even like an article in Yahoo. It was like a niche article within Yahoo, but like one of those kind of culture. I don't know what it is, but it was like under the Yahoo banner, and they basically called me an istinophobe. They're like, all of this started because some istinophobe they used another term for it, but that was what
Mm-hmm.
they were saying. YouTuber who's an istinophobe, and they wrote my like my name. He decided to make this terrible video. It's like, what do you want from me? I went to the movie and they had a poster that said that the character was male. What was I supposed to know? You know what I mean? I didn't make the
Yeah.
poster. So this whole weird thing, Dread Roberts actually noticed it, made a video about it, and I don't know how or why. Maybe I was recommended his video, maybe because he mentioned me or wrote something. I don't really know. And then I watched his video, and I actually thought it was a good video. And then I think we befriended each other, and I told him, hey, I liked your video. It was cool. I like what you do. And then we started like following each other, and then I don't know. I guess from there, from time to time, we'd kind of talk or exchange, communications online or things like that, and that's how we got to know each other.
That's pretty cool, because if it wasn't for him, I don't think we'd be talking. So everybody subscribe to Dread Roberts. All two people watching right now, so hopefully more people show up. But Price, how long you been doing content creation for? You've been doing it for like several years now.
It's hard for me to say. It's kind of complicated, but I would say that probably my first video I did somewhere towards the end of 2019. Those were my early videos. I took a break of like maybe a year or two, and I just I wasn't in the mood. Like I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but especially because I had an idea, and then there was the whole Couve thing, and my idea couldn't really
Yeah.
happen the way I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up taking a break.
All right. So yeah, so for me, I started in 2021. So I never got into the whole YouTube thing. YouTube pretty much came out when I was in college. So it was mostly like all these cringe, childish videos that just, I don't know, came off as very shallow and fake. So I don't know. I just it got to a point where I don't know. I'm just like I was in between jobs. I was in between jobs in like the late 2010s, and I was big nerd, big Star Trek fan, big Nintendo fan. I like watching movies, artsy fartsy stuff, and I really wanted to connect with other people online, which is something I never really tried to do. Even though I had all this time to do it, I never really did anything. I really wanted to meet other Star Trek fans that weren't my friends who I got into Star Trek. So I started listening to a whole bunch of channels. There was, I listened to like Bird of Prey 5, Anti-Trucker. I found the Geeks and Gamers. I found Neurotic, and I know that they're having their own stuff. I know you were discussing this yesterday. I actually remember that because I was 3 years ago. I was actually listening to FNT and the Inquisition. And I remember the whole rewriting Ripley thing that came out, and it was stuff like that that just made me dislike the fake fans out there. At least that's what I think of them, or the shills, as you call them. So I'm just curious like how you kind of found yourself into this sphere. So I met a lot of people through Nerdrotics community and through other communities. I would just start talking to them. That's how I made a lot of the relationships I have now. So I'm just curious how you found yourself on this side. I know you said you've been called isonophobe for that one Ninja Turtles thing. I'm sure there's more stories way back.
Oh, that was already at a later point. Like I actually I think that my involvement in whatever online community this is, I think it started after The Last Jedi, because I had gone to see the movie, and I was kind of, today it's really obvious what I didn't like about it, but as I was watching it, I was just so baffled that this is what was happening, and I was sort of still in denial. I was telling myself, initially when like Luke throws the lightsaber, I thought to myself, it's a trick. He's throwing it now because he's testing her, kind of like how Yoda tested him. By the end, it'll turn out that he's like this, like he has a whole plan why he's doing this. It's all kind of like a mind game. And as the movie just moves forward and forward, I kept saying to myself, "Wow, this is awful. This is just not. It's not a good movie. It's not a good Star Wars movie. It's not a good anything, and it's so disrespectful." And by the time I was done with the movie, also I walked out, and people seemingly, I mean, if you looked online and media and different things like that, everybody seemingly loved this movie, and Rotten Tomatoes, everybody was glowing. And I said to myself, why does everybody love it, but I don't love it? You know what I mean? I don't like it at all. And
That was me with The Force Awakens. Actually, that's really when I started. That's really when I started exploring YouTube, was trying to find videos, because everybody was praising that movie, and I had a lot of issues with that one. I don't know how you felt on it. I'm assuming you pretty much liked The Force Awakens when it came
I'll tell
out.
you what, I was so eager to see a Star Wars movie, and I think a lot of people fell for that when The Force Awakens came out.
Yeah,
And I
prequels.
was,
Yeah,
how there's these kind of shows that make up excuses? I guess for
yes,
like that brief moment in time, I was kind of like one of those shows. Just give me Star Wars, and they had a movie, and seemingly it was all right. But the thing is that I didn't think it was especially fresh. Even when I saw it, I thought it was a real rehash of A New Hope, kind of for the modern era. But I thought to myself, this was the foolish part. What I thought to myself, what I explained to myself was, it's not perfect, but they had to sort of reintroduce the franchise and also bring in a younger audience. And now that they have everybody kind of on the same page, once Luke Skywalker steps into the picture in the next movie, that's when this trilogy is really going to take off. That's what I was telling myself. And
yeah.
for 2 years, I was with that level of excitement. Like 2 years, I'm going to go in, and that's when the trilogy that's when it really starts. Now we're going to see Luke, and I can't explain to you how happy I was, like how and what kind of anticipation and how much I wanted to see that movie. And when I saw it, it was so disappointing. And the fact that there was this kind of media gaslighting, which was really obvious to me. And I started going online. I didn't even go to YouTube at that point. I actually started just on Twitter, which I'd never done any of these things. I don't even really. It's weird because I never even liked any of those social media or liked any of this stuff, or YouTube. Like I didn't like any of it. And then I just found myself, I had like a Twitter account, which was sort of like I don't know if to say a burner account or whatever you want to call it. And I started just tweeting, and or I'd respond, or I'd start saying a few thoughts or whatever it is, and suddenly it's a weird kind of gravitational thing. Started meeting a lot of other people,
Hmm.
and that's how kind of I think I was pretty early on in this community. A lot of people that you see today, some of them have really large followings, things like that. At that
Yeah.
time, it was all so new. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, like, I even like you said, even though I didn't like The Force Awakens, I had a lot of issues with it. Just like, the whole Poe Dameron thing in the movie was just poorly done. I mean, if you're gonna kill him off, just kill him off and everything. And then the whole who's gonna talk first, you talk first or I talk first. They're trying to be funny. I was just like, come on, come on. Imagine if the original trilogy did that. And then, of course, you had the whole they bring in the lightsaber, they showed in the trailer, and then what do you get? We get, oh, a good story for another time. I'm just like, seriously? I mean, you just kind of put it in there and expect someone else to explain it. So that was my issue with that. And there was a whole bunch of other ones, and I didn't like how they handled the end of or the death of Han Solo. Basically, I thought it was a bad way
That
to
was
do it.
one
And I
part.
think the one thing that I'll say, that, and if you ever listen to Chris Gore of Film Threat talk about it, I'm totally with him on why I thought it was of poor taste the way they killed off Han Solo, basically.
I mean, I didn't like the way they killed him, and if I had one issue walking out of that movie, it's what they did with Han Solo. And again, being in that kind of fan goodwill slash shill mindset. Not that I was shilling for anybody. I just really wanted good Star Wars. I
Yeah,
think it's not fair to say I was a shill. I didn't know at that point where it would go. But what I'm
none
saying
of us
is
did.
that I thought to myself, Harrison Ford for so many years has been so grumpy about this character. He probably said he'll only do it if they kill him off. And I said, well, they probably could have found a different way to kill him off. But if he was causing so many problems and he didn't want to do it, maybe this was just the best way because they have a plan for something with Kylo Ren that they need this to happen.
I got a
I
question
really,
for you. Do you? I don't know how much you know about the original trilogy, but is it true that he wanted his character to die in Empire, but
yeah, I
Lucas
think
said
he
no
did. I think that for Harrison Ford, it's
because he
never been
felt the
he's
character like came to its natural conclusion in Empire. At least that's
right.
I
And
know he's not
also
record
I
saying
think
that.
for some reason that he didn't, we love Han Solo when we think about the original trilogy. Harrison Ford really, I think, even, from all the interviews over the years, really saw it as a gig. You know what I mean? Like it was a gig, a paycheck. A lot of his movies,
Yeah,
even stuff that you like and we like, Indiana Jones, whatever. I think a lot of it is Harrison Ford has a gig, he collects his check and he puts it in the bank. I don't hate him for it. I mean, I think that sometimes fans care a lot more about these characters than he does. We
well, then
saw
actors,
the last
yeah.
Indiana Jones
I mean,
movie.
Shatner himself, I don't think has ever seen an episode of Star Trek. So, or at least the ones that he's appeared in. So, at least that's from what I know. So, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm concerned, actors don't watch the shows that they're in. Like I know Brent Spiner, I think has gone on record to say that he hasn't watched TNG at all. So, yeah, and yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with that too because, like you said, it's a paycheck. It's a means of living, and I don't know. Like I'll be honest, like I don't even watch my own videos or or streams that I do unless I'm really proud of it. But that's another thing.
I would say that my live videos, like not my live, my non-live videos, like movie reviews, I do actually watch. I mean, I don't watch them all day and all night, but I'm saying if I post one, I'll watch it just to kind of also look at it and think to myself, did I do this as well as I could have? Maybe I take notes if I can maybe do something better. Or sometimes after you watch it a few times, even when it's up, you kind of think to yourself, okay, maybe this works, maybe this could be better. Sometimes, that could happen. So I don't know. I mean, even actors, I think it's not bad to look at your work and see if maybe you can improve or not improve. But you know what? These guys and these things that we just said, they did a good job, and they don't want to look at themselves, then it's fine. The live streams, I won't say that I sit around and listen to all my live streams. It's if it's something special, or I wasn't sure that like there was a topic that I delivered as well as I wanted to. Maybe I'll go back and listen to that segment, but that doesn't happen every second. That's not something that happens every second.
Yeah, same here. So I mean, like sometimes if I feel like I did a bad job, or if I just didn't communicate properly, or I didn't answer, or have a proper focused conversation properly, I'll probably revisit it and see if there and probably take notes on see if there's a improvements I could do and everything. So because I mean this has been a big thing for me, like doing these streams, leading these streams, and having direct conversations like this. Because I was in special ed growing up, so I have like ADD, and part of the reason why I had a hard time making friends growing up was because I just couldn't really pay attention or focus on what was on conversations on talking to people. I always ended up trying to change the subject out of the blue, and well, kids don't like that. And kids can be cruel. So, so I mean, this is something I still have to this day. But it's been an improvement just having these conversations, just kind of building up that that brain, just that that basically that ability to communicate and all that better, the improvement in communicating. So that's kind of why I've been doing this and everything. So but yeah, for Last Jedi, the first thing I saw was the throwing of the lightsaber was the first thing I noticed. Is like, what is this? And then you got a whole bunch of weird things, and then the whole you can't fight what you hate, but you gotta save what you want. You can't kill what you hate, or you gotta save what you love. I'm like, what the hell is this?
You know, watching that movie, and the more I thought about it afterwards, like in the days that followed, I really felt how much I was taken for a ride. The fact that you know, like I said, it's not that I didn't see any issues in The Force Awakens. It's that there was a lot of fan goodwill, and I thought to myself, I will be okay with this because now they're going to put everything on the right track. And I'm so dumb, you know, for thinking that, but I really thought that. And when The Last Jedi turned out the way it did, and I saw everybody praising it online, like in the media, that's when I started, you know, seeing
IGN gave it a 9.7 out of 10.
Yeah,
and then at the same time they said, well, not everybody's going to like this. I was like, not everybody's going to like this, yet you gave it a 9.7 out of 10. And then I saw the movie, and there was parts I was confused. There was one scene I really liked, but but a lot of it felt boring and confusing and just baffling. I'm like, why was this in the movie? You know, like the green milk
that's the
stuff.
thing.
That
That's
was
the thing.
gross.
In the classic Star Wars movies, like there's no just scenes that don't matter. You know what I mean? Every
Yeah.
scene that's there, it matters. It's part of the story. You're
Yeah.
watching the scene because it helps the plot get from A to B. Here in this movie, it's like you know, that's a mark of a bad movie when there's just filler, when nothing's happening, the pacing is just slow,
It was
nobody's
2.5.
doing anything.
And
It's like this.
this was like the beginning of the whole, I mean, the whole making movies like 2.5 to 3 hours long, but they don't have 2.5 hours to 3 hours of, you know, of story of stuff to put in the movie. They just waste time. And
I
they
mean,
just,
I've never considered what's his face, Ryan Johnson, even before this. Anything that people even raved about what he did before, I didn't especially like it. I was just hoping that somehow this will be the movie where he kind of steps up. And at the end, my instincts were healthy. The fact that I didn't think he was a very good you know, director to begin with, and that was especially not a writer.
I think he was an okay director. I
He's
think
okay
he's just a
director.
bad writer. He's not a
He's a
good
bad writer.
writer. Yeah.
Basically, what happened is that you know, I've probably told this story before, but many years ago, this is many years ago, a lady friend of mine came over to my place, and she brought this. You know, I think I'm trying to think if at the time maybe it was Netflix would mail you the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Mail
maybe
you
we're
the
talking about
DVD.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're going back a couple decades now.
yes, yes. We're going back a couple of decades. And then she brought over something. I didn't look at the name of who made it. I didn't care about it. She put in a movie, and she said, this is really like, this girl was always kind of, you know how people how do I explain it? When there's like a trendy thing that people are all snooty and they like something, so she like that person is like wants to be part of the trend.
Yeah.
So at the time she was like, "Oh, this everybody's talking about this filmmaker." I wasn't even listening to anything she was saying, and then she put in Brick. I mean, I was listening, but you know what I'm trying to say. She put in it
Yeah.
sounded like a bunch of nonsense to me. I never get excited. It all sounded annoying. She put in that Brick movie, and the movie went on. You know, in the first few minutes, I thought to myself, okay, there's an interesting concept here. But man, after like 5-10 minutes, I'm like, now the whole movie, they're going to be in school and talking like they're in like a 50s film noir. I said to myself, this is really getting old. This is like a Saturday Night Live sketch of like 5 minutes. You can't make a movie that's interesting for that amount of time. And I watched the movie, and I honestly, I thought it was shit. Like, I couldn't stand the movie. Sorry, Dredd.
This is Brick. And this is Brick.
What'd you say?
And you're talking about Brick.
Brick. So I saw this, and she was all like gushing, and I'm like, no, this is crap. Like, this is a crappy movie. Like, why? This is the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, I hate it. And yeah, and already at that point, it was like an early version of things that would happen later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was exactly that type of person that subscribes like he's the toast of the town. I don't know why he's the toast of the town. Who even cares about him? But he was that guy, the buzz guy. You know what I mean? People were buzzing about him for no apparent reason. But I have to give him, he's a good politician. That's probably why they were buzzing, because it's not because of his film. His film was crap. Later, what happened is that he had the movie Looper.
Yeah, that I saw. That I remember
Now,
seeing.
again, I thought to myself, Bruce Willis, great. Time travel, great. You know what I mean? Emily Blunt, great. Like
Yep.
everything. I didn't even mind Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which like I'm just okay with. I'm like, okay, this
Yeah.
should be interesting. Let's see what happens. Sat there, watched it, and I watched it with a friend of mine who were like, we love this kind of time travel. This is exactly like, this is the kind of movie we're gonna like. The guy that I was, watching it with, he fell asleep. He fell asleep. He's like dozed off. He's like, this is boring. He like
I
dozed off, fell
I
asleep.
I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was particularly great, but I didn't think it was bad. I
But
thought parts of it were
that
interesting.
movie, like all the wrong lessons were. First of all, again, the marketing was good. Time travel. Bruce Willis, he's
Yeah.
still like those are the later the I don't want to say the last years that Bruce Willis is still a name that you say it's a cool movie with some time travel and Bruce Willis. Maybe a few people think that that's cool, myself included. So basically, I watched the movie. You said you didn't hate it. I thought it was very boring. I thought that I didn't fall asleep like my friend, but I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, I got to the end of it and I wasn't thrilled. There was like this kind of the chatter, that kind of kissing Ryan Johnson's ass was like, oh, it's the thinking man sci-fi. No, that's not the thinking
Mm,
man sci-fi.
no.
That's just a boring, silly sci-fi that is at a late night, maybe at home on streaming. Maybe you could somehow put up with it, but
I'll
it's
meet
not.
I'll meet you halfway here. One thing you did say, I barely remember the movie. I saw it once. I didn't really have a desire to see it again. I didn't really find it even particularly memorable. The only thing part I remember was when Joseph Gordon-Levitt goes back in time or goes forward in time, or Bruce Willis comes back in time and he manages to get away from Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That's probably the only scene I remember and everything. So, but yeah, I wouldn't say you're wrong right here, but yeah, I got to bring up Gadfly's point here. Good point, David. So basically, yeah, you got the Blues Brothers. Blues Brothers, my favorite musical of all time, and where did that come from? SNL. Coneheads. Yeah, I don't know if you saw Coneheads. Coneheads was awesome
I
when it
did
came
see
out.
Coneheads.
Yes, I didn't see Night at the Roxbury. That was a little bit later. I know that was
I did
with Will
see
Ferrell.
I saw Night the
How's
Roxbury.
that one? Was that good? Is that worth checking
I'll
out?
tell you what. I'll tell you what. It's not the best movie, but I like Will Ferrell. Generally speaking, Will Ferrell in those years can make me laugh. It's definitely a movie that's not on the
Celebrity
top of.
Jeopardy.
What'd you
That
say?
Celebrity Jeopardy. Like I want if they ever made this movie, they have to make like a Celebrity Jeopardy. I love
Right, he was good at
Trebek.
Alex
Yes,
Trebek, definitely.
and
Um,
I think Daryl Hammond was Sean Connery.
yes, that was awesome.
It's so weird that they both passed away. The Alex Trebek and Sean Connery passed away the same week of the same year.
That is weird.
That is crazy. So I don't know. And they never. I'm surprised they never. I always thought they would. I'm surprised that they could never work something out to get the two real
Oh man, that
people
would have been
to do Celebrity Jeopardy. That would have been awesome.
that would have been just amazing to see if they actually pulled that
Oh,
out. But maybe it wasn't meant to be.
yeah,
In any case, I agree with you. That's really good. The Night at the Roxbury, it's not on the top of the Will Ferrell movie list. But you know what? If you were sitting now at a late hour, maybe with a beer and a few friends, and you put it on, there's a few jokes to laugh at there. It's not. I didn't suffer watching it, but it's certainly not like high up there amongst the best of the best. If that makes any sense.
yeah, it makes sense. Since we're kind of on topic of SNL and comedy and skits and all that, what was the last good comedy you've seen? Because I know comedy has not been a thing lately. Comedians have been, complaining about, especially with the type of, the way the culture is now, the way that, students are, everybody's offended over stuff. What was the last comedy that you saw that was actually worthwhile? Do you remember by any chance? It's been a while.
It's been a while. I'm trying to think.
I remember
Surely
the
there must.
2000s was filled with, the gross out, those gross out college comedies, your American Pies and your Van Wilders and all that. And then you had
Then
your scary
later,
movie, yeah, your parodies. You had your scary movie and Vampires Suck or something like that. I don't know if they haven't. I don't think they've really done a whole lot of comedies lately.
I can't think of a comedy. I mean, I've seen comedies, but I can't think of one that I was like, wow. I mean, I haven't watched this in a number of years, and I don't know if upon rewatch I would still find it funny, but I vaguely remember and this is already several years since I watched it, I vaguely remember thinking that the movie Pop Star was funny.
Pop star. Who's in that one?
Andy Samberg is in that one,
Oh, is
and
that the one that's like never stop, never poppin'? That one? Okay. All
yeah,
right. I
yeah,
haven't.
that one.
Is that the one where he's like supposed to be like, wait, Justin Bieber or something?
Something like that. It
Okay.
on the surface, if you were to tell me about that movie, I would not want to watch it. I had no interest in watching it. I think I was sitting at home, maybe on some network or cable network. I don't know what it came on, or maybe it was on some streaming thing, and I put it on one night, and I was surprised that I was genuinely laughing at some of the things I saw in that movie. I thought very little of Andy Samberg until that moment, but I have to say that if he has ever anything in his career that he wants to show off, like that movie is actually pretty funny.
Okay. All right. I'll keep that down. So pop star. All right, I'll
I
write that.
haven't watched it in a long time. I'm trying to think if since then I've seen like a funny movie. It's so weird because it's been 70 years and I can't think of a. I, okay, again, it wasn't the best movie in the world. There was something where this is a really dumb movie, but it got a few chuckles out of me. There was something on Netflix where Will Ferrell was like a Swedish singer that goes to the Eurovision competition in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think he's Swedish or he's from Iceland or who knows what. It was the dumbest, and has Pierce Brosnan in it. It was like the dumbest movie ever made, but somehow it was so stupid that it got like a few it got a few chuckles out of me. Like Will Ferrell really did his best to sell it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Oh,
more like you like Will Ferrell, you can chuckle at some jokes. It's not like going to be a movie that withstands the test of time, I think.
yeah. I'm trying to remember if I saw Step Brothers. That's one that's widely referenced. Like a lot of
Step
people
Brothers is a
a lot of
fantastic
people do
movie.
the picture. A lot of people do the picture of you have John C. Riley. I think John C. Riley standing up and Will Ferrell sitting down, or is it the other way around? I keep forgetting.
I can't remember, but I'll tell you that Step Brothers came out before the Pop Star one. Step Brothers is certainly one of the later movies that were made that was actually funny.
Yeah.
That was a funny movie. I haven't watched it in a long time, and sometimes I worry that I'll watch it and maybe it won't make me laugh like it did before because I don't know. I've changed. You know what I mean? The world has
Yeah.
changed. Comedy has changed. But I think that in the years that it came out, even several years afterwards, Step Brothers was an amazing comedy. I
Okay.
still, to this day, there's still the quotes and things that I still like out of it. I
Oh,
didn't mind
I
the
just
first
remembered.
Anchorman,
Oh yeah, Anchorman. Yeah,
the
Anchorman.
first one, yeah.
The first one was good. Was it go f yourselves, Seattle or something?
Yeah, I mean, you know what, Anchorman, I actually saw, sometime in the past few years. I watched it after not watching it a long time. I actually laughed. I still found it funny.
That
So
escalated really quickly. It escalated really quickly. I mean, you see that all the time. You see that meme all the time now.
everything is like memes from that movie, but rightfully
Yeah.
so. It's a movie with a lot of memes. I mean, there were years there that still some comedies came out. Maybe some were better than others, but there were some good comedies. I feel like I'm thinking of the past 5, 6, 7 years. Can't think of a lot of good comedies.
If you seen the Hangovers, I just remembered the Hangovers. I think they came out like the 2010s.
I think that the first Hangover was funny. The second Hangover was basically them trying to redo the first one, but in Thailand. And
Yeah.
you know what? At the second time around, it wasn't as funny as the first one. It was just all right. And the
Yeah.
third one was like pretty weak. So it was really a case of diminishing returns. Honestly, it didn't even need to be a franchise. It just made so much money that they couldn't help themselves. The first one is a legitimate movie for what it is. I really
Mhm.
feel like the follow-ups were cheap cash grabs.
This is a great segue into what I also want to talk about with you, and that was like what makes a good sequel, and then we'll eventually get to Beetlejuice, because I just rewatched Beetlejuice myself for the first time in a long time, so I definitely want to talk about the original movie, but and then of course I still have not seen Beetlejuice, so I'm probably gonna go see it tomorrow, but
I won't spoil it for you. I
you
did a
can
spoil.
spoil it. You can spoil it. I'm
No,
not
no, I don't want to
really.
spoil it for people. Even my review that I posted on my own channel, I did it. I did it in a way that if you saw the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you didn't,
I
it's
know
like
what
sort of.
I already know what happens in the movie, so it doesn't really matter. I'm still going to see it just to see how it plays, just to see how it plays out on screen.
I
So
see.
yeah.
In
So
any case,
spoilers are
I think that my review covers all bases. It's a review that if you didn't see the movie and you don't want it spoiled, it won't spoil it for you. But
yeah.
if you did see the movie, the things that I say really touch upon. I think whoever will see it will be like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So
Yes.
hopefully, I try to do that because if it's a movie like this that I know a lot of people like the original Beetlejuice, I'm not in
Yeah.
a hurry to spoil it for them.
Like what would be worthy of a franchise? What would be worthy of like a sequel? Like what would I mean like a lot of movies tend to like end like everything, they tend to wrap everything up, all the storylines up, and then just and naturally concludes, and then we get a whole bunch of sequels, and yet there's some movies that are considered great sequels: Aliens, Terminator 2, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan,
The
Empire Strikes
Godfather too.
Back, Godfather Part 2. You know, like what makes a good sequel? I mean, one thing that you said, and I know, and I think everybody would agree. And even though I love Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters 2 suffers from what a lot of other sequels suffer from. They just simply rehash what the
No movie
original.
since the first Ghostbusters has been as good, like that series, and I don't think it can ever be as good. That was a lightning in the bottle type of movie,
Yes.
like also very much of its own time, of its own day, and you really can't recreate that magic. That type of magic, it exists. That's what used to be cool, that there were all these kind of original ideas in film and filmmakers really trying to get something original off the ground, and then when you had that kind of lightning in the bottle, it would be like real movie magic. And today all these studios are so lazy. Even Bob Iger said it, the CEO of Disney. He said it very clearly. We're just going to capitalize on a bunch of IPs that we have and do a bunch of sequels. Like he said it, he was really happy telling all of his investors they can't they couldn't think of an original idea if their lives depended on it, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like it all comes down to who they freaking hire. Like all the people that they know, and it's always been a thing with Hollywood is they always, if there's someone that that's connected to Hollywood, they'll hire them to write because they know them, they trust them. It's like being in a gang. You're not gonna bring someone from the outside and you don't know if you could trust them. The same thing goes for this. But I mean, the thing is that the people that are in the industry have failed to come up with something better. Like I'm kind of curious. Like for instance, the Beetlejuice guys. You were talking in your review that they're kind of, I don't know how you said it. I forget how exactly you said it, but they're not great writers. They're just good enough or competent enough. Like not competent enough to make what we would deem a great sequel or
Well,
something worthy
basically,
of the original film.
these guys are not like what I was saying, and I think I was saying it on the stream yesterday, is that the person that wrote the original screenplay for Beetlejuice, in addition to writing that screenplay, he has on his belt like 25 books or something that he wrote in the genre of like horror or something that he just published on his own. This guy wasn't just some guy that worked on some CW teeny show and somebody let him do something. It was a guy that really took his writing seriously, and that shows you the kind of pedigree that writers then had versus today. These are two guys that, if you look at their track record, it's very poor. They at best, their claim, maybe the best thing they could say is that on Spider-Man 2, with Tobey Maguire, they were two people out of three that contributed to the story. Again, there were two other people that wrote the screenplay. So maybe they had a few ideas that were good, and maybe somebody did something with that. But that's not the same as writing a 2-hour screenplay for a movie, which when I looked at their track record, I couldn't find something that said, okay, these guys know how to write a movie. The best thing that they've done is they worked for Tim Burton and they did the Wednesday show, which they're the showrunners of. But doing a series for Netflix that involves a lot of teeny romance or whatever that dumb crap was,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the same as Beetlejuice 2.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not.
Did you watch Wednesday by any chance?
I did not. I've heard nothing, but I think everybody I've talked to had positive things to say about Wednesday. And it just, the reason why I haven't watched is because of just this whole thing of bringing back IPs, bringing back old actors to reprise their roles from these old IPs, and it's just gotten tiresome because none of them have lived up. Nothing that has come out has lived up to anything that came before, and I don't understand why they keep doing it. Because
Well, the thing with Wednesday,
fans have been pretty vocal about saying this the stuff you're doing sucks, and yet you keep doing it. You keep making sequels. You keep making reboots and everything. So yeah, sorry.
well, the thing is that with Wednesday, they didn't bring, from what I mean, I think they brought Christina Ricci maybe to play a different role, but they didn't bring like original characters. The way they were in the movies.
Is the girl, is the daughter in this Beetlejuice? Is she Wednesday?
Yes. Okay. The daughter
Okay.
in that's Jana Ortega. She is in the Wednesday show. Now, what I'll tell you is this: everything leading up to that Wednesday show's release, I didn't want to watch it, and I thought to myself, pretty much what you're thinking. It's like, first of all, why do they need to revive everything every second? And two, why would I want to watch a show that's specifically about Wednesday and not even the Addams Family? So the whole thing annoyed me, and I thought this is just some dumb modern day quote unquote whatever, and I didn't have any patience for it. What I did is that I think that a few people that I trust said, "Hey, we saw it and it was actually kind of okay." And at the end, I kind of, I was sitting one day at home, was on Netflix, sometime after it came out, and I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." And I pressed play, and the one thing I'll tell you is, Jenna Ortega. I don't know what she's like on a personal level. I don't know if I like her or not, but I will say that her performance in that Wednesday show, she gives a really good performance, and she gives one
Okay.
that I think that she carries that show. That, and yeah, there's the style overall. You can tell that Tim Burton gives a little, of his own style there, which I like. But the writing there's a little too much teeny drama. It's a little annoying. The only thing I can say is that I think that she's really good. If there was a reason that I kept watching is that I thought that her performance as Wednesday was solid. Not even just like, oh, it's okay. It was good. Like, I actually said, wow, like, I'm not familiar with this actress. She's doing a good job. And even in this new Beetlejuice movie, I think that Jana Ortega is fine. They don't know what to do with her. They have no storyline. They have a storyline, but I think it's just shoved in there. She's good. If you actually gave her something to do, she would do it well. But this movie is all over the place, just like I said, both on the live stream yesterday and on my own review on my channel.
I think I think I'm gonna go see it tomorrow. Just even though I'm not expecting, like, my expectations are like low, but I really want to see Michael Keaton play Beetlejuice again. And from what you said, what the reviews I've seen say, he basically just puts it back on, becomes the character, and it's great.
He's the best part of the movie. He is absolutely
All
the
right.
best part of the movie. And I will say, sometimes if you say to yourself, I love this world, I love these characters, I love this atmosphere, I love the town and the house and all this stuff, and I just want to be, immersed in that again, you could watch that movie and get some of that. The only thing is that alongside you having that kind of nostalgic trip, which is fine, there will be, enough moments that you say to yourself, oh, like, this could have actually been a good movie. They just needed all they needed was a different screenplay, bring the same cast, bring the same everything. You could have done a slam dunk movie, or maybe a few movies if you want to spread some of these ideas over across a few movies and really flesh out the ideas and not what they did here. Maybe there was something to do, but they tried to do too many things in one movie. And when you try so hard to do so many things, sometimes you just end up failing. And I think that the guys that wrote, and this is something that my friend Script Doctor told me, and I agree with him, is that because they're used to writing TV shows, because they're thinking like 10 episodes of a Netflix show, that maybe each episode is like 30, 40 minutes or whatever it is, they're thinking, oh, we can have like a million different ideas, and then we'll just gradually plant them, and we'll tie them all together by the end of the thing. And, there will be room for all these storylines. When you're making a movie, you don't have that kind of, it's a different setup. You either know how to write a movie or you don't.
Yeah. So basically, from what you're saying, they put too much in the movie to the point where a lot of things just didn't pay off.
They
Basically.
bit off more than they could chew. They were
Yeah.
punching above their belt, meaning
Yeah.
these guys are two decent writers for some kind of series, TV series, whatever it is. They're fine, under Tim Burton, with the right cast, they're fine. But I think that he made a mistake. He saw that Wednesday was doing well, and he thought, "Wow, what if I take these two guys and let them write the screenplay for the movie?" And that was a mistake.
Just to interrupt, Admiral Teague, member for 7 months. Admiral Teague, you are awesome. Everybody subscribe to Admiral Teague. He does these intense streams talking all things Star Trek and pop culture. I think he talked about Beetlejuice earlier. But yeah, Admiral Teague, thanks for doing this. We have to do part 2 CHILLPOREAL. So there you go. By the way, just everybody, just a moment. I know we've lost a few Star Trek YouTubers. The last month we lost Clobbering Times, we lost Pop Culture Curator, and we lost recently A Bird of Prey 5. So just keep them, just keep their families in your thoughts and prayers, and keep their communities in your thoughts and prayers, and definitely. I do need to do more Star Trek focused content in their honor and everything. So yeah. So Emerald Teague, hail. Sorry, Price. Yeah, I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you heard about. I don't know if you know those content creators, but yeah.
Well, Clobbering Times was a friend of mine, so I definitely know him. But
oh yeah, I remember you did talk about them on, I think, on Night Owl, didn't you? Or about
I talked about him. The other people you mentioned, I know of them. One person I had the Birds of Prey I had some interaction with, but really, Clobbering Times was my friend.
Okay. Yeah, so I heard about that, and I was just that because I watched some of his Saturday night Trek stream, him and Raquel and what was it, Mark D with the C, those three, and it just broke my heart and everything, because I had Clabby on for when I was doing the Orville, when I did the after shows for the Orville. I literally would stay up late at night because I wasn't working then, so I'd stay up late at night. Watch the Orville the moment it dropped on Hulu, which was I think 11 p.m. at night Central, and then right after I watch it, then I put on the do the after show and everything. So I don't know if you've seen the Orville or the latest Orville.
Of course, I've seen every episode of the Orville.
So do you believe that they're? So I think Scott Grimes came out and said they're doing another season. I don't believe it until I hear either from Seth MacFarlane or from Hulu itself, since Hulu's the one that's now.
I mean, somebody announced it, but I didn't understand, because it's like you said, I didn't know if to believe it or not, and I myself am not sure. I do know that I did have some issues with that third season.
Oh, by the way, we have an angry Canadian here. He did want to ask you a question. A couple of days ago, remember when you and me and Kyle or Dred Roberts were talking on Discord? He wanted to ask you if you've seen Shogun, both the original and the new one. Have you seen either of them?
Okay, I didn't see the original one. To be fair, I've seen bits and pieces of the original one, but honestly, I've only watched the new one. I know that some people are really, think that the original one is the one that they like, but
Yes.
I think that the one that was made now in the past, whatever it is, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and I liked it.
So I liked it too when I saw it. It wasn't until I talked with Angry Canadian, because he actually lives in Japan. He's married to a Japanese woman who knows the history of Japan really well, and she was watching it with him, and she says the women in Japan didn't act like this back in 1600s. But the way so from what I'm gathering, so what I'm understanding is, and I saw the original Shogun from 1980 with Richard Chamberlain. I think it's more historically accurate, but the thing is, that show is more of a fish out of water type of, believe it or not, adventure story, where the entire thing is from the point of view of Blackthorn. Yes. And there's no subtitles, so you have Toshiro Mifune. You have probably a few. I don't know the other Japanese actors in that show, but Toshiro Mifune, there's no subtitles, so you don't have all the. So what I did like about the new show, I did like the intrigue. I did like the palace intrigue. The whole, between, the rivalry between Toranaga and Ishido. And then you actually see the other regions.
And to be fair, Mariko-san in the new one is I really like her character.
Yeah, so her character, in the new one, her character seems to be kind of out of place. Doesn't she seems to be a little too the women in Japan,
Is
especially
she too
back then,
girl
had
bossy?
to
Is she too
yeah,
girl bossy? I don't know.
not girl bossy to the level of
No, she's
Disney
not.
Star Wars,
Listen,
but
I
it's
really,
a little she's a little outside a little outside the
you know
norm.
what though? You know what? And I'm going to say something that maybe will be controversial, but this I think is true. At least if they wanted to do that, they brought an actress who is very easy on the eyes. Is that the term I'm looking for here? That
Yeah,
at least
the both actresses from both shows that play that character were extremely easy on the eyes. So
I mean, I think that I saw some of the old one, and I think that I prefer the actress of the newer one. I like that actress. I like what she did on that show. And you know what? As a man, sometimes if you show a woman that's easy on the eyes, I can be forgiving.
so okay, so all right, so I just had to ask that you because that's something that he asked us earlier. So, but hey, he says you're gonna do a Sonic 3 movie review.
Probably, yeah. If I get a chance, I'll try to go see the movie and do it. I mean, I saw the first two, and I saw that Knuckles series, so hopefully I can see.
Oh, I still haven't watched it yet. The Knuckles series with the Hound is the actor that plays the
Yeah,
Hound in Game of Thrones is the main
you can
bad guy.
skip it. You can skip it. I watched that thing. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's really forgettable. I think that I liked the first and second movie; those were better. The
Mhm.
series is just like it's all right. It is what it is.
So, Price, I got to ask you, since we're kind of on the subject of gaming now, you're an old school gamer. You probably haven't played for quite a while because I think you said you grew up in the '80s, so you played a lot of stuff back in the '80s and '90s and all that. So I'm just curious what the last system you owned was or played on was.
I think that for sure had a PlayStation 1 with a lot of games. I'm trying to think. PlayStation 2. At some point, you know, I had some kind of emulation or something like that. PlayStation 2, at least I know that friends of mine that I was at their place often, they at least had it. I think that the one that I really stepped away from, that I was already, older and doing something in my life that didn't give me a lot of time for it, was probably around the PS3 days.
Hmm.
Once the PS3 games, PS3's console and games came out, I feel like I was out of the loop.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, those 2006, the Wii came out, so yeah, a lot more and more games. Around that time, games started becoming, especially that era going forward, because you started adding digital stuff. So there's physical stuff, bigger AAA stuff, and then there was the digital stuff. They were either re-releasing older games, which was the reason why I bought the Wii because I wanted to play. I wanted to replay some. I wanted to revisit some NES games because I don't know if you ever did you ever have an NES, a Nintendo Entertainment System?
Of course, I
Dude,
had one.
remember how hard it was to activate those things? You put a cartridge in. At least my system never freaking worked. Like I had to blow on it. I had to jerk it in the box I had to jerk the cartridge in the box to get it to work. Either get the white screen or I get the blinking screen where it'd be gray, white, gray, white, gray.
Well, I mean, I think that for me, that only happened in the later days. Meaning, if you had that console for a while, I think that at some point it used to do that, but it didn't do that immediately. Like if you bought the console, and, for the earlier days that you had it, it wouldn't cause those kind of problems.
It did it within the first 3 years. So yeah, I remember it used to take me at least 15 to 20 minutes to get it started. Sometimes it would take me an hour. That's how much work. That's how much if I had
mean,
to really want to play it if I was willing to put that much time in just to
I
activate
mean,
it.
at that point, if you have it like that, you either get it fixed or you get another one. I mean, at that point, it's done. Like it's that's already a point where it's not working anymore. But I had one, I had a console, I had an NES that happened to. I think maybe I ended up getting another one, or actually, I had two of them. That's a very long story, but I was able to continue playing one, and then the other one just it wouldn't play the games anymore. But yeah, you're right. I mean, back in the day, you had to blow into those cartridges and put them in the thing and hope that they start. But
And I've never wanted to, like, I got rid of all my cartridges. My system eventually just stopped working, and I basically threw it out. And I never looked back. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of collectors out there that like to collect, the old cartridges and everything. Now they're probably worth lots of money, especially the older Nintendo stuff. And I just like, you know what? I'd rather just have my digital copy so that I can just turn it on, play it whenever I want to, not have to even think about having to take 40 minutes to just activate it. Like that when the Wii when that came out on the Wii, I was just that just like blew me away. I was just like, the whole idea of playing an NES game and not having to put in all that work was crazy. Even Mario 3, I would leave the game on because I didn't want to turn it off, or you didn't save that. There was no saves in Mario 3, and it was a longer game than most games of that era. And then, and then the thing is, if I turn it off, I might not be able to turn it back on right away for the same reason.
Right. What I want to tell you is that if it makes you feel any better, none of the stuff that you had that you threw out is worth too much money. What's worth something in the NES after collector's market, whatever you want to call it, vintage market?
Yeah,
it's if you have games that and especially not only complete in box, which is CIB, but if you have complete in box that's sealed, factory sealed, like a Super Mario Brothers 1 that's factory sealed, then that's worth something. But between you and me, how many people just had around a bunch of Super Mario Brothers 1 sealed? I mean, most people, if they have Super Mario Brothers in a box, they opened it. You know what I mean? It's rare. Who buys the game and then keeps it like sealed and says maybe 20 years, 30 years from now, somebody will pay a lot for this Zelda game.
Yeah, and mine didn't even come with the box. Mine came with Duck Hunt. So Duck Hunt was on the same cartridge, and it came with the system itself. This was the 1989
same thing that happened to me.
Yeah,
I had it with
you just had that sleeve. You had remember that sleeve?
Right.
But that sleeve.
Okay, before the console that we got, initially they had the one with Rob, which is the robot. And I think at that time, if you wanted to buy Super Mario Brothers, it didn't come with the console, and then you actually had to buy it in the box. So if you bought one in the box and it was one of the early presses, and you never opened it, and it's factory sealed, and it's like 9.8 VGA mint condition, then you can start saying that you want to sell it for like 20, 30, 50,000. In some cases, if it's like one of those sticker seal ones where it was like the beta testing for the market or whatever it was, the prototype, those kind of things even go for like $1 million. But the chances that you have a mint condition sticker seal prototype Super Mario Brothers, that is a very, very low chance. Low chance that you'll have that.
You know what I mean? Very low, extremely low. Yeah. I agree with that.
The best I have is that at some point I said to myself, oh, like maybe it's cool if I have a few CIBs. So things that like I played when I was a kid, I got them like in CIB. But honestly, like they're not, at best, maybe I bought them for like, $30, $40, and maybe a few of them today are worth like $200. But it's not like I got them and, I thought to myself, wow, I'll get them now and soon, like they'll be worth $1 million. But they're not worth $1 million, and I don't think they're going to be very soon either.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So I mean, the closest thing I've been doing currently to revisiting that era of games was I got this. The Nintendo came out with this game called Nintendo NES World Championships, and this dates back all the way back to like 1990. They actually remember. I don't know if you remember. They had all those championships, those competitions back then. So they have they released something like that for the Switch. I think I have a copy. It's somewhere up on on top of the shelf right there. But that's definitely something. If you ever want to, if you're ever interested in playing video games again, I'm sure you're too busy. I mean, I feel like I'm too busy now. I barely play games myself. But if you ever want to go back, I think that's a good way to get back into it. Just look if you ever consider getting a Switch. So, that's cool. That's cool. You ever play Beetlejuice? Going back to Beetlejuice, I remember actually playing the NES game.
I can't say that I've ever played the NES game. At the time you had an NES, every game was very expensive. Maybe it's still like that today with any console, but I couldn't get all the games. I had a lot of games. Beetlejuice wasn't one of them, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember renting it, and I remember like it got to a point where a lot of these movie based games like were pretty tough. Like there were points where I didn't, like, I was young, so I didn't, what did I know? And there was no instructions. Usually if you rented a video game from the video store, the instructions were always lost. Like someone always like kept it or something. And so the video store I used to go to, they used to have photocopies. They used to photocopy the instructions and everything and put it in the container with the game. The thing is, even those weren't available after a few rentals and all that. So, but I remember playing that, and I remember the animated show. Did you ever watch the animated show?
I didn't watch. I know people said they were friends, him and Lydia or whatever. I didn't watch the animated show.
Now I know that was in the 90s. I don't know if you were already already older.
I still like things. I was still open-minded to watch like things like that. It's not that you couldn't catch me watching something like that in the 90s, but I guess I was in a different place. There's different eras in my life and different places I was in, also doing different things. And I think that at that point of time, it just that I didn't have access to it, and I just didn't see it. It's not like I saw it and I made a conscious decision not to watch it, but I just didn't really get a chance to watch it. That's it.
So yeah, this is the game right here. It's a platformer.
Huh.
So look, like, I'm getting some Castlevania vibes, getting some.
Also, Super Mario Brothers 2. It's like a cross between Super Mario Brothers 2 and Castlevania or something.
Yeah, and I think even a little bit of like, you ever play any games where you have to like collect keys and all that? There's a few games that I had. There's Solomon's Key. Everybody knows that one, but that's more of a single place puzzle game. Not so much. It is a platformer. Now this looks like a Sunsoft game right here. You have to top down right here. So, but yeah, this was one of those games that was kind of tough. I think the final part you have to fight the sandworm or something. I think the sandworm was like the final boss or something. This looks very Dream Master right here. That's a Capcom game that I've played.
I thought more like a Mario with the clouds, but yeah, okay.
There's a movie. So the game Dream Master was based off of a movie called Little Nemo's Adventure in Slumberland. And they came out with a girl boss version of it where they made a sequel to, I don't know if it was the comic or something, because it was based off of a comic where Nemo has a daughter and she's going on the same adventures or something like that. I forget what that movie, it came out a few years ago. I think it's just called Slumberland or something like that. So same idea. So I don't know. The animated movie was okay, but I liked the game. The game was awesome because it was a Capcom. It was NES era Capcom. When they actually made good games based off of animated movies. Like all the Disney NES stuff that was made back then was all Capcom, basically. Like DuckTales and Little Mermaid and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I don't know if you ever watched you ever watch any of those shows? Any of those old Disney afternoon shows?
Some of them, yeah.
So, but yeah, that pretty much that was the era right here. So I just kind of wanted to show that. So, but going back to Beetlejuice, like, so you said you saw it in the theaters.
I actually saw it twice in the theater. It's a really strange thing. First of all, I didn't used to, my whole life, there's only a few movies that I've ever seen twice in the theater. I'm trying to think which movies I saw twice. I saw The Big Lebowski twice. I saw Team America World Police twice. And I'm ashamed to say, but this was because a relative of mine hadn't seen it and wanted to go with me. So I saw The Force Awakens twice. I am very embarrassed about that. Uh, at that
I saw
moment,
about
though,
that too. Yeah, even though I didn't
at
like it, I saw it again because I thought, like you said, I thought they were going to make. I thought it was going to lead to something. I thought like episode 8 and 9 were going to be good. So, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think that at that moment though, I was still kind of in this phase of like I'm so happy that there's more Star Wars, and another a relative of mine that hadn't seen it, I went to see that Force Awakens again, and the other one I can think of that I saw twice is Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. What happened is that I was hanging out with a friend. We went to a movie theater as kids. Like it's so weird because I think today I don't even know if as a kid I could suddenly go to a movie theater. I I don't know. I think times were different. I don't really know how to explain it. I feel like things were more innocent back in the day. I also am
there were
not even
more
sure.
theaters. There were
What'd
more
you say?
theaters. There were more theaters back in the day. Like you didn't just have AMC and Cineplex, Odeon, and all that. You had like the neighborhood theaters that would.
Yes, yes,
We used to call
exactly.
them the dollar. We used to call them the dollar shows because let's be like when I was growing up, my parents lost like like my parents had a business and they lost it, so they went through some extremely financial hard times. So instead of seeing a movie right away in like at the AMC or the Cineplex Odeon, we would go and see the movie like months after it came out when it would finally get to like one of the neighborhood theaters that was much cheaper. They were like $1 or $2 for a ticket, as opposed to the more expensive $5 or $6 at the Cineplex Odeon in the 90s. And you hear that and you're like, wow, that's cheap nowadays. Because what was it like
No, no, I know
20 something
exactly what
bucks
you
for
mean. I know
20
exactly what
something
you mean.
bucks now for to go see a movie now?
Yeah, and I also can tell you that there were a lot more theaters, and it was a situation that you suddenly go downstairs in the theater right next to you. You're right. You didn't have to
Yeah,
suddenly go this big distance to some multiplex with 70. Multiplex was like an anomaly. Like most of the
yeah,
time, you just go to some theater that maybe showed two movies. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I
Hmm.
don't even know if that exists anymore. You know what I mean? That you go in and there's only two movies.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's it. They have two movies. If there's 10 movies out that weekend, they don't have them. They only have two. If that makes sense. So, yeah, I guess I was a kid and I was with a friend and we went to see Beetlejuice. And I feel like it was a theater again with just a few movies.
Hmm.
And then maybe a week later, we wanted to see another movie. Uh, I actually remember what that movie was. So we went to the same theater again. And it was like you said, sort of a neighborhood situation. And they had this movie called Mr. Saturday Night. We didn't know anything about it, just like we didn't know anything about Beetlejuice. We're just two kids. We're probably seeing movies that we're not even supposed to be watching. But we bought tickets. We went to Mr. Saturday Night. We sat there, and it's something about Billy Crystal, sitting there in makeup as an old man, reminiscing about his childhood or something. We looked at each other. The guy was talking for like
Was
5 minutes.
did he do like his Princess Bride thing, or because he was kind of like as an old he was like I think he was an old man in that movie too, wasn't he?
Think Princess Bride, but not funny and annoying and a
All right.
bummer. So we saw
Okay.
that, and so we saw he's like blabbing for like 5 minutes. We looked at each other. We said, you know what? In this theater, they still have Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
So we got up, we went to Beetlejuice, and we saw Beetlejuice again. So I
Hmm.
ended up seeing like Beetlejuice, and I think a week later, Beetlejuice again. It was very rare. Oh, the final movie I saw twice was The Naked Gun. I'm very glad I saw that twice. That was a good movie to see twice in theater. Saw it as a kid, loved it. That's one of the best comedies of all time, I think.
I saw The Naked Gun for the first time, like probably like 5 6 months ago. I did a little watch party in Discord. I had no idea it was the same people that made Airplane.
Yeah, it's classic. It's classic. And I see that Angry Canadian says that I guess he caught me red-handed that I saw the Force Awakens twice. I am ashamed of that. But to be honest, it was really a situation that a relative hadn't seen it. Maybe at the time I didn't mind going to see it again because it's like finally a Star Wars movie. But yeah, I definitely they pulled a fast one on me with the Force Awakens. I'm not saying that I loved it, but like every aspect of it. But I was really excited, and I thought
So
that something good would happen.
I think I saw it 3 times, The Force Awakens, because I didn't like it, but I thought maybe it was me. And my brother felt the same way because me and him both, my brother and I, the one thing that we bond over was Star Wars. I mean, like, um, I saw the prequels with him. I showed them the Clone Wars, and we've both played the games, Knights of the Republic and Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy and Force Unleashed and all that. And we were both like we were like, maybe we should see it again. Maybe there was something we missed. And yeah, we felt the same after seeing it again. So I saw it twice too. And then, but the thing was, I was still hopeful that there was going to be things. Maybe there was a reason why they made those choices, and that, like I said, 8 and 9 were going to be good. But then again, back then, I was a sweet summer child, to quote Lady Stark in Game of Thrones, basically. So, yeah, it's weird because you would think, like even with the prequels, episode I with the exception of maybe episode 2, you can disagree with me on this. I thought the prequels got better as the movies went on. I know some people didn't like. Some people prefer 2 to 1. Some people prefer 1 to 2. I actually think I'm in the camp of 1 to 2, but I think 3 was better than all of them. And I thought 7. I thought the sequel trilogy was going to follow suit, and apparently it didn't. Because I don't know, but I know a lot of people think 8's the worst. I actually dislike 9 more because 9 kind of killed the entire series for me at that point. And then Kenobi did it even further. Ugh, Kenobi. So at this point, I'm just like, I don't care. And so I watched a few episodes of The Acolyte. And I was on your show about the first 2. I think they showed the first, dropped the first 2 or 3. And I was just like, I don't care. I don't care. And I didn't even. What's funny is I didn't even watch it after that. I didn't even watch the show after that. That's how unengaged I was.
I see.
And then I heard they dropped at the very end, they dropped Darth Plagueis. Oh, we're going to have Darth Plagueis in this show. How?
That was so stupid. It didn't mean anything. The whole show didn't mean anything. I mean, it was, by the time we reached The Acolyte, I couldn't even look at that as real Star Wars. Not that I even thought a lot of the other stuff was real Star Wars, but I was so emotionally disconnected from it. I knew from the first frame that this is some dumb crap. I knew exactly what it would be, and I still give shows a chance. I mean, if it ended up being great, I would have said, you know what, it really surprised me. It's great. People think that if you don't like something, that you just want it to be bad. I don't just want things to be bad. If something is, Andor, I didn't think I thought it had issues, but I didn't hate it. I thought that at least an effort was made to do something there. And when somebody asked me, I say, yeah, I think the pacing is slow. I think that the lead guy is not like as charismatic as a lead guy should be. There's certain things that I didn't love about that series, but yeah, I think
better. It's better than
it wasn't an
else.
insult. I didn't sit there thinking this is like personally an insult to me as a Star Wars fan. I thought to myself, yeah, it's interesting. If basically you didn't have all those like sequel trilogies, all those crappy like Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, Acolyte, and all that stuff, and just one day somebody said, hey, like, do you want to see, we did Andor, this series, I probably would have said, hey, you know what, it's all right. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been a big thing at all. Like, I think that they've really spent a lot of fan goodwill. Yeah. But at the same time, their shows are also not good. There's no reason for the goodwill. The Mandalorian, the first season was pretty okay. People kind of warmed up to it.
7 episodes. The last 2 episodes of that season were phenomenal. The episodes 7 and 8. Whoa! I actually felt some stakes. I thought there was some good stuff going on. I liked how it ended. I liked how the season ended until the very, very final scene. I was like, Dave Filoni, why don't you put aside the Darksaber already? Leave it be. Like, I was just like, I was expecting something more interesting at the end of season 1 than what they actually did. And then of course they had to do the whole Ahsoka thing after that. I was just like, oh, whatever. So, I think Andor is something that me and Kyle, Dread Roberts, connected on initially. I didn't like Andor at first. Another friend of mine, one of the White Cloaks, got me to watch it. And I thought it was just going to be another trash show, and he said it was actually good. He actually said it was the best Star Wars since Empire. I don't agree with that, but it was better than. It's probably the best thing that came out of Disney Star Wars, in my opinion. Especially on the show side. I think even on the movie side. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Rogue One. Maybe even better than Rogue One. I don't know. But I'm actually going to watch, and I'm actually going to watch season 2. I'm actually going to. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it now. I still have some issues. I rewatched it, and my thoughts have changed. My opinion has improved on the show. I just feel like I just feel like the writing wasn't as, I feel like the writing, I didn't like how it was written. It just felt like things were just kind of propped upon the character instead of there being true consequences to actions. And honestly, the way the show began, I was expecting there to be like an emotional payoff because, they brought up the whole sister thing and then they dropped it like in the middle of the season. I was just like, why not just have him, instead of him looking for a sister, just have him steal something and then he gets caught and then he runs away and he kills those guys or something. I think that would have been better. And that and he would have stolen that thing that was the thing that the Empire was looking for. That was basically what the whole season was about, or at least the first arc was about. So I don't know, but that's just me.
Yeah, everybody has their opinion. I thought it was all right, but it wasn't the best.
Yeah, I know. I kind of went went on a little bit about that. But going back to Beetlejuice, we got about 15 minutes left. So I rewatched it today. Actually rewatched when I came home, and I thought the movie. I still think the movie's great. I saw the movie. I was too young. I was only in '88. I was only 3. I turned 4. Later that year, but so I was too young to see it in the theater. Actually, what's funny is I think the first movie I've ever seen in the theater was, believe it or not, earliest thing that I've seen was Last Crusade in '89. But that's beyond that. That's neither here nor there. My folks taped the movie on HBO. That's how I watch it. So I used to put in the VCR. I think my dad taped it over my mom's. My mom taped Prizzy's Honor. I don't know if you've seen Prizzy's Honor with Angelica Houston and Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, yeah.
Well, I still have not watched it, but I remember like I would watch the Beetlejuice all the way through, and then it would go to Fuzz, and then the Fuzz would part, and then I was like, oh, there's another movie in here, and that was Prizzy's Honor. So you had that. But Beetlejuice was like I didn't realize that throughout the entire movie, watching it now, that Harry Belafonte's like music from the 50s was almost in the entire movie. Like I knew that the Mr. Banana, Daylight Goman, I Want to Go Home, that song. I thought that was the only one, but the Shake 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 Senor, that was also Harry Belafonte. You hear a whole bunch of other stuff. I thought that was interesting that that Tim Burton chose Harry Belafonte stuff to be in that movie.
It was cool. It was cool. I think that that whole movie is cool. I still think it's good, and it stands as a classic. I think that the new one doesn't really do much to complement it, but again, like I said, if you enjoy the first one, there's something to enjoy about the second one. It's just nowhere near as good. It's just an all right movie.
It just felt like the story kept moving. It was what was it, 90 minutes, 90 to 100 minutes. So it wasn't too long.
The first movie, every scene is important, and it advances at a quick pace, quicker than what people were used to at that time. I think it really, it's ahead of its time, the movie. It just moves and moves and moves, and cool stuff is happening, and it's all advancing at a great pace. And that first movie is great, for sure, still.
I'm curious where the idea came from. Like, I'm looking at the writer. So there's Michael McDowell and Larry Wilson, or the screenplay by Michael McDowell.
I think Michael McDowell is the guy that wrote a ton of books himself. That's the guy that I think I was telling you that's like a legitimate guy. He wrote he was one of the people that wrote the story and one of the people that wrote the screenplay. And in my opinion, he was the main guy, meaning maybe there were other people listed there, but if I understand correctly, that was the guy, the guy that was dominant in the storytelling there. And it looks like a guy that knew how to tell a story.
Yeah, according to, I'm reading the most reliable source on the internet, Wikipedia, and it says Michael McDowell is described by Stephen King as the finest writer of paperback originals in America today, which I'm assuming was the 80s. So yeah, he's no longer. He's no longer with us.
Stephen King is annoying, but I think that if he says something like that about another author, it's not that he doesn't know how to write; he's just annoying. So if he said that about him on a professional level, I tend to think it's probably true.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about like Stephen King's judgment when it comes to stuff, even writing now, because he is literally, I don't know if you've ever seen, he was on he was, you ever see him and George R. R. Martin? Like George R. R. Martin would have interviews. He would have people, he would have authors come to his theater in Santa Fe and basically promote their book and all that. And he had Stephen King come to the, you know, the John Choctaw Theater that he owns. And I forget what the book was. This was like 2015. Maybe it was like Mr. Mercedes or something. And he talks about why he never really got into fantasy because he read Wheel of Time and he didn't like Robert Jordan. And I mean, I've read the first few Wheel of Time books. They're not bad, so I'm not sure what he's talking about. If you read more of the series, well, there's some issues that a lot of people have, and I'm one of them. So, but like, I'm just kind of curious. Like, I'm just really curious of his judgment, and of course, based on, like, I mean, we've seen how he talks on social media. not the best. I still like his books though. I still can. I don't know about you. I can separate the art. I can still separate the art from the artist. Like, I can still watch Polanski. I could still watch. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen any Roman Polanski. Like, if you've ever seen The Pianist or Chinatown. Or
Chinatown is a good movie. Rosemary's Baby, Chinatown. Those are good movies. Yeah.
You ever see The Pianist with Adrian Brody? The one where he plays Spielman, the Holocaust survivor. It literally, like, the whole movie is basically him evading the Nazis. Like, his family was completely taken away to Auschwitz, and he was spared going onto the train, and he's basically in hiding and evading being killed by the Nazis and all that. And it's one of the most heartbreaking movies I've ever seen.
I actually haven't seen it, to be honest with you.
You gotta see that movie at least once. I mean,
I probably do.
Schindler's List is here. Pianist is like here. So Schindler's List is still the top movie in that genre, the World War II Holocaust. Pianist is like right here. Like, it's because Polanski actually lived it. I mean, as much as I hate to, I mean, I think what he did was disgusting, and he should pay, but at the same time, he wouldn't have made this movie. So it's one of those cases where you're kind of thinking, you know, because it's a good movie. It's a movie that I think everybody should see once. My opinion.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Same with the Cosby Show. Like, I still love the Cosby Show, even though Bill Cosby did what he did for years, even during the Cosby Show. You know, it's crazy.
I mean, it's hard in the case of Cosby because he really, really put a damper on it. But, you know, if you take a step back from that was such a great cast. That was such a he really with his actions, with what he did, he not only ruined his own legacy, but a lot of people that were on that show that were, you know, spoken of highly, maybe could go to conventions and, you know, were even maybe still making some type of royalties, however little. I think he ruined it for a lot of the other cast members because instead of being part of this kind of show that was very important in pop culture, iconic, really mattered to people.
It bridged. It helped bridge this racial divide.
Yes, it actually did that. It actually, people don't remember it, but that show was a big deal. That's why the way his legacy went, it you know, it's not just his legacy in the sense of, you know, how he sees himself, but the fact that it spoiled something that was such a sort of positive pop culture moment. It's the opposite of what we get today, because today we're like, oh, look at all this diversity. We have to put it into Star Wars and whatever. Back in the day, he's just like, here's the show. Like, this is my family. We're doing this show. And people loved that show. That was like the number one show. Everybody watched that show. It was like the biggest hit. Families would sit together and watch that show. I know, I can say that. I mean, it was such a big deal, and I think people don't even realize that today. That's why sometimes I look at all these, you know, people. They're like, "Oh, finally, there's a diverse thing, and you don't like it." It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I grew up in a time where, like, I turned on the TV, and that wasn't the only comedy. That was a comedy that really took things to another level in terms of, you know, how it presented that family. But I mean, The Jeffersons was a great show that I used to watch. You know, there were a lot. What'd you say?
All in the Family. Too.
All in the Family, Benson. You know, there were shows that I watched. There were even like ones that were like random, like Give Me a Break. I watched
Yeah,
it in
I
the
remember.
original.
Yeah, Nell Carter. I remember.
Mel
First time I ever
Carter.
saw her was in Believe It or Not, Hanging with Mr. Cooper season 2.
I see. And then, in addition to that, what's happening and what's happening now?
I remember. I remember What's Happening Now. I was on when I was real young, and what? Yeah, that
Like
one. Yeah.
something like it had like a funny theme tune,
Yes.
and you had Rerun. How could you forget? And Raj and like Rerun, and
And
then
Shirley. Yeah.
and Shirley, yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And then you had what's his face? Good Times. You had Good Times. You
Here
had
in Chicago.
Webster.
Yeah.
You had Webster. You
I
had
remember
Different
Webster.
Strokes. I
Yeah.
mean, this idea that like they're
What you
like it's
talking
a
about, Price? What you talking about, Price?
there's some documentary about Gary Coleman I want to see, but I haven't got a chance yet. But what I was going to say is that all these people that are blabbing now, they're like, finally, there's a black person on screen. It's like, guys, where have you been living? What have you been doing with your lives? I grew up. There were a ton of shows, and they were a lot more real, and they were a lot
Yeah.
more, I think, highlighted certain things. I
Yes.
think that they were very much better at bridging gaps and really
Yes.
bringing people together. And the thing that you're doing now, that's not bringing anybody together, and it's
You
just
don't.
crap. It's
Yeah, you
not
don't know how to,
good.
and you don't know how to write. You all you
Right?
do
You
is
don't have a,
divide. All you do is
they,
divide, and you call people who are critical of you ists and isms, and like people like like you've experienced it, I've experienced it, we've all experienced it.
those classic shows, Sanford and Son, those classic shows I mentioned were very well written, very well made, very well acted. And then like later, you had also, if it's the spinoff from Cosby, you had The Different World, and you had Fresh Prince of Bel Air. These
Yeah.
are all shows that I watched.
A lot of
Not
people
that I
say
watched
that
like
show really bridged everything, was Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Now, that's a show I have not seen. I remember growing up, I've seen episode here and there, but I have not watched that show in its entirety.
all the shows that I told you now. It's not that
Yes.
I once heard about them or watched like half an episode. I'm telling you that I watched a ton of episodes of each of the shows that I just said. In some cases, but this is again stuff that people probably don't even remember. Back in the day, you'd come home from there was not like internet streaming or whatever it is. You come home from school. There's a lot of rerun shows in syndication, stuff that's running that they're showing, stuff that maybe is a little older, and every day they'd show an episode. So maybe during a year, if I was watching, like, let's say, What's Happening every day at like 4 p.m.,
Yeah.
then by the time that year was done, I probably had seen all the episodes of that show. Do you get what I mean? That's
Yeah.
how a lot of these shows I would just watch. It's not that I've seen one episode, I've probably seen all of them or a lot of them. Whatever was in syndication, whatever they kept showing over and over again in reruns, I'd end up watching it. And for me, I didn't think to myself, oh, like these guys are diverse, so I won't watch the comedy. There would only be one thing that matters. Do I think it's funny? If I put it on and I enjoy it, I'm watching it. That's the only criteria. And I ended up watching all of the shows that I just told you, and I
Yeah.
like them. So isn't that considered diversity? Isn't that like good diversity? I just sat there and wanted to watch these shows, and I enjoyed them, and they were a lot more well written, and they talked a lot about stuff in a more mature way, and I thought that
I
they were great.
I learned a lot about politics from watching All in the Family. I mean, All in the Family was always, Archie Bunker pit up against the meathead himself, and he's still a freaking meathead to this day, Rob Reiner. I don't know if you ever seen how Rob Reiner talks on X and Twitter, same as
Rob
everybody
Reiner,
else.
is super annoying.
He is literally dead from he's literally dead from the neck up, in my opinion. It just goes to show that just because you get older doesn't mean you get wiser. So but yeah, All in the Family, like they had some really, really harsh episodes. There was an episode, I've talked about this before. There was an episode where they literally wake up and there's a swastika painted on their door, on their front door, and they get a letter saying, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna come back and we're gonna take care of you and all that. And then they have this Jewish Hebrew Defense League, played by the guy that plays Julio in Sanford and Son, same actor, Gregory Sierra's character. And then they have him and the meathead have a debate about violence. This only gets this, but then they're like, oh, if we don't fight, we're gonna all die. So it's that type of writing that really gets you to think, because it's like you can't really, it's not an easy pick of a side. There's both sides have merit to why both sides have a merit to why they do what they do, and it gets hard because there's pros and cons in everything, and it gets you thinking, and it makes you it brings up this, it warrants discussion. and that's what made those shows. That's what made those shows back then. Even early Star Trek, TNG stuff prior to 2010 that was generally written with, well, maybe 2000. I don't know. I might be going a little too far ahead of myself, but that's, I mean, it made you think. It didn't tell you what to think. It made you think. As I think what Heel versus Babyface put it perfectly, at least about Star Trek. So
yeah, I agree.
So Price, we've approached the time, 90 minutes. Is there anything you want to promote? I know you do your night owl every Tuesday and Thursday. So
I do.
What's going to be discussed on the next one, or what are you going to do next?
Well, a lot of times you kind of see a lot of things that are happening that day, and then you sort of discuss them. So I don't know to tell you on Tuesday what we're going to discuss yet on the Night Owl. It has to be closer to the time, but we try to talk about topics of the day, about things that are relevant. And yeah, you've been on there a few times. At some point, you should hang out with us. We'll make sure to,
if you ever talk about like Star Trek or something, definitely let me know, and I'll see if I'm available.
Awesome, man. And what was I going to say? So that's Tuesday and Thursday. I do that on a few different platforms. But if people on YouTube here, I have that Price of Reason live channel. They can check that out. And then my main channel, Price of Reason, the regular one, I post reviews from time to time. For a while, I didn't have a lot of time to do the reviews, but now recently I've started doing them again. Some people like that, and you guys should, whoever those people are, should check it out. And then on the YouTube live channel, there's also Quantum Leap Revisited. Every Thursday, we watch a Quantum Leap episode together. We talk about it, about the classic show. It's kind of cool. Even though it's a niche show, I don't know if you actually watch Quantum Leap, but it's a good show.
Remember it. It's on my list. Like, I know Quantum Leap is supposed to be really good. And I remember seeing an episode or two when I was young. But I kind of want, because of your stream, because of your discussions and all that, I kind of want to start watching it myself. I wanted to see if I could. I have time to watch it before this stream and talk about maybe the pilot or something. But I didn't have time for that. So maybe the next CHILLPOREAL, or maybe if I catch up, maybe the next time. Next time you do it, I'll maybe I could maybe possibly join the discussion. Weirder things.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever watch an episode and you want to join us, that would be cool. Like if you there's an episode that you've seen, and you're like, hey, I've seen this, know what you guys are talking about. Let me know. We like once in a blue moon, there's like a very kind of we have our panel, but once in a while we do bring a guest, and if you saw an episode, I'd be happy to make that happen.
Cool. All right, I'll definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, because I watched a few of your stream or your videos or streams about Quantum Leap, and it made me want to watch it again. So sometimes I have to sometimes I usually need an external factor to kind of push me into watching something or something. Like I'll get a recommendation from a friend, or I'll watch a video or somebody's take on it, and it'll kind of convince me otherwise. So but yeah, that's kind of what's brought Quantum Leap to the forefront for me. So is there anything else you want to promote? Anything else you want to plug?
No, that's it. I think that was fine.
All right. Well, Price, I appreciate you coming on. I know you're a very busy guy. Wasn't sure if we were going to be able to do something, so I'm glad we did this. I actually had a really fun time. Just talking pop culture with you, and the good old days back. This is the good stuff back in the good old days. There's a lot more to discuss. I definitely want to do a part 2 CHILLPOREAL with you, because everything has to be a trilogy now, or everything has to have a sequel now.
The sequel. Yeah. I'm sure this is we'll find other opportunities to do other things, and yeah, another stream like this at some point is also likely to happen. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure hanging out, and for a while we've discussed it, and I actually, for the past few months, I just had a lot of stuff going on, even not the online stuff, just I didn't have a lot of time for streams beyond the ones that I kind of commit to every week, but it was nice that we were able to do this, and thanks for having me.
No problem. It's always great to have you. So definitely subscribe to Price of Reason and Price of Reason Live. Both links are in the description. Okay. All right. So for me, CHILLPOREAL is going to conclude, or not conclude. It's not going to conclude. CHILLPOREAL is going to resume next week. The guest has been revealed, and you'll see it in the outro. So that's going to be next Friday. And because we are approaching fall and Halloween season, Serial Horror Chat's going to be making a comeback for a season 3. So I'm going to kick that off with a discussion of the movie The Fog, the 1980 film directed by John Carpenter. And I'm going to be doing that with Salty Traveling Sea. We haven't. For now, the tentative day is going to be a week from this Monday. So definitely keep a lookout for that. And I'm going to hopefully get a few more of those type of streams going for the horror season. So keep a lookout for that. So other than that, everybody, just if you're new here, consider hitting the like button. Consider becoming a member of the Nerdporeal Continuum. It would really help the channel out, and definitely keep a lookout for some content, for some original video content. Watching, Price, watching your review kind of makes me want to make video content again myself. Get my editing chops back and all that and everything. So, and yeah, that's pretty much it for me. So, everybody, want to say thank you to DJ Ronnie G, member and moderator. We got CLS Studio, a man wise beyond his years. We got Salty Traveling Sea, my bro. We're definitely have a good time talking about The Fog, Salty. And of course, Kyle Dread Roberts, my bro. AC Angry Canadian, my other bro. Trying to see who else was here. Admiral Teague. And Gadfly Fiction. Gadfly Fiction, BD Jake, and the real Bob Newman. You know the real Bob Newman? This is the first time I've seen him here.
I don't know him.
You don't know him? Oh, well, it's great to see new faces. So, all right, everybody, take care, stay Nerdporeal, and have a great weekend.